Hey, I'm Dion Hibdon. We're here at Baitworks, and we're going to go through and I'm going to pick out a few baits like I would throw in the Big Bass Bash on the 23rd and the 24th of this month. You know, the crazy thing about it is they're not going to be quite as far along as what they would normally be this time of year, I don't think. And that's because it seems like, well, there for a while, every Thursday it snowed. It's not really going to set anything back that much. It's just not going to have every fish in the lake right up on the bank. Normally the full moon in May is when they spawn on Lake of the Ozarks. So it's a little bit early for that, really. There'll be a lot of fish up there cruising around the bank though. And when I say that, there'll be tons of them little buck bass. There'll be lots of good ones, three, maybe even some 4-pounders right up on the beach. But there's still going to be a few fish out. And I've always thought that in the Big Bass Bash that you kind of want to leave them bank beaters alone, because there's 3,000 boats plus, there, and then at that time of year, the crappie's always biting good too. So every little stick that's in the water is going to have, either 4 or 5 bobbers floating around it, or somebody's already going to have throwed at it by the time you get there. So I like to back off just a little bit. And when I say that, I'm not talking deep. I'm just talking that 6-7 foot range. I've always been a big believer. Me and my dad always thought that the biggest bass don't get up there where you can see them. They're always just out of your sight on Lake of the Ozarks. And that normally on the low end of the lake means 6 to 10 foot deep. You can't beat, just a regular old green pumpkin zoom lizard. Now, the only modification I would make to that on my little short Carolina rig, now this is the bigger one. This is an 8-inch. Do I think it really makes a hill of beans? No, because a big fish will bite a little bait too. But I would probably put that on what we call like a PD rig. And a PD rig was kind of first came up with by Peter T. And he takes a little 1/8 ounce sinker and pegs it up his line about that far, okay? Now by doing that, it allows you some good castability. But with that little 1/8 ounce sinker in front of it, it still allows you to make little precise cast also, or pitches, Me personally, I would put it on a spinning rod, just so I can sling it back in dock wells and stuff like that, where that lighter rig would be a little bit tougher to do on a bait caster. But I'm gonna do it on 20-pound braid with about a 15-pound leader, and then just, like I say, make your leader line on your, fluorocarbon however long you want. But like I say, you want to peg that sinker about that far in front of that lizard. And that just gives it a real subtle look as it falls to the bottom. Another little jig, or a little deal that I'm, pretty much set on that time of the year is a little brown jig. I put one of these little ledge rock baby bugs on it. I'll show you which one, because I'm a firm believer that even in the bash, you got to catch lots of fish. You got to get fish in the boat. You got to be catching fish just so you keep interested. I'll put that on the back of a little brown live rubber jig, okay? I'll put me a little red or orange on the tips of those claws right there. And I realize that's not a very big bait, but that time when you're out there fishing for that big bass, he's not eating it, because it's, cute. He's not eating it because it's crawdad. He's kind of standing around rocks. And the more natural thing is for him to eat crawfish. When he's standing around a big rock or he's standing around a piece of brush on that particular time of the year, he's starting to think a little bit about spawning, okay? He might not be doing it right then, but he's kind of hunting a spot. He's trying to find that one little piece of concrete on Lake of the Ozarks that, that he can spawn around later. So he spends a lot of time just kind of cruising up and down the bank. Once again, it's one of those baits. It's small, it's subtle, but if you pitch it in front of one, he won't turn it down. Now you are going to catch some smaller fish, but you are also going to catch the biggest fish that swims in Lake of the Ozarks on that same little brown jig. This little worm hook right here, I'd cut off just a little bit of it. It doesn't take much, of a weed guard to keep it out of the trees and stuff, okay? See how that is right there? I would probably cut off about a 1/2 inch of that, because you just want it to where when it smashes down over that hook, that it just covers the tip of it. You don't want it way out here, because that's just something for him to hit when he goes to grab it. So you want to cut it off just a little bit to where when it comes down, those 2 little weed guards, it comes down right at the point of the hook. But you string that through the egg sac on a Senko and nothing else. No weight, no swivel, no nothing. Pitch that out there in that 6 to 10 foot range. Let it go to the bottom. If they're suspended up off the bottom, and I tell this one way. If I look at my depth finder and I see a lot of fish that I can see on my depth finder, guess what? They're not locked down on the bottom. So if they're not locked down on the bottom on any given day, then you need to throw something like this, like a Senko with no weight in it. Maybe even like a fluke type bait, something that falls very subtly down through them. You know, and nowadays with live target, you can also see some of those fish. You see those fish stand up off the bottom, then you just make multiple casts to him. You know, if you find him on your active target situation, you know, you just make several casts with a subtle little bait, like I say, like a Senko with no weight. You know, it's still going to get down there. It gets down there a lot faster than you think, but by making it subtle, you're going to catch one of them big ones. You know, those big ones, by that time of the year, they're big, they're fat, they're full of eggs, and they don't want to chase real hard. I mean, you know, there's a lot of times of the year that you can still use fast moving baits and catch a few fish. That time of the year, they're in the very end stages of being, you know, having babies. And trust me, when they get big and fat, they're just like anybody else. They don't want to move around a whole lot. They're not real aggressive about chasing baits. And these subtle baits, like what I've showed you here and told you about a little bit, that's going to get you more bites that time of the year. So by the 23rd or 24th, that should be what's happening for you. So good luck in the Big Bass Bash.